Alright guys, so I'm going to give this another go. I've tried to do a couple of build videos with my GoPro, and they ended up just being like too much to edit, and I don't know. My hat's off to those guys that do all the build videos. It's definitely not easy. So my plan with this video is I'm going to go through all the gear we're going to use. First, I'm going to do it in like sections, in this section I'll show you all the gear we're going to use, and we'll probably set up the motors at the end of the video. And I'm doing this, I don't have a bunch of like fancy studio equipment. I just have my cell phone here on like a clamp on the side of my desk, hanging over my little build area here. So there's not going to be anything fancy with this, and it's going to be completely unedited and raw. So I'm going to do it like in sections and try to keep it like at about 20 minutes long so it doesn't bore anybody to death. But I'm going to go all the way through from the gear here to setting everything up to the beginning, all the way through till tuning and flight, and make like a series of videos. So this will be the first one. So anyway, first thing I'm going to use this Astro X frame, Astro X. Now I bought this on a website here in China that swore it was the original deal, but obviously after I got it in the mail, it is not, because it doesn't have the chamfered edges. Now the website, the Chinese guys are sneaky. The website showed all the original Astro X frame parts. But this one didn't come with the chamfered edges. It doesn't have the canopy over the ESCs, which was all shown on the website. The standoffs are different than the original Astro X. I actually ordered this. It said it was out of Korea, which is where Astro X is. So I thought it was the real deal. But again, it was $65 instead of like the $95 that they charged. But I figured that was because I'm here in China and it was closer. Anyway, it's laid out correct. I mean, the carbon was cut correct, and it's very strong, and it seems like good 3K carbon. I chose this frame because I like the way everything locks together, and it's nice and light, real simple, and it's got a nice little GoPro mount on it. Now I normally support the original people that make stuff. Like, I order stuff out of the USA and pay, you know, $50 extra in shipping just to support the original guys. I don't believe in buying clones. I'll pay the extra money just to have the original gear, and I know it's the right gear, and I'm supporting the guys that are putting their heart and soul into this thing or whatever. But anyway, here it is. So I got duped, but it's okay. We'll just have to go with it. So the Astro X frame, enough babbling about that. I will have to take it in and round the edges off myself, and I like to round the edges in where the battery strap goes, so it doesn't have any sharp corners in here. That way I've rarely broke a battery strap when I round these out. If you don't round these out and you leave the sharp edges on there, your battery straps break, and the tape gets cut by the sharp carbon fiber here when we put our ESCs and stuff on. And it's just it feels better in the hands when it's rounded off, and it makes it a little stronger. Let me finish it out. Okay, that's enough about the frame. So the other star of the show here is going to be the Matek. I'm going to use the Matek board on here. Obviously you can see it's the F405 with the Betaflight OSD. I have this on several builds already, and this board, it should be illegal. It flies so freaking good, and I love the way it hooks together with the ribbon cable, and I'll show you how all that works. Hooks together with the old the FCHUB here, the FCHUB PDB. It's all 6S compatible. Has outs for everything: current sensor, voltage, anything you want to hook up, 5 volt, 10 volt, blah blah blah. It's got it all. It's got everything we need. I'll be using these Fly Color Raptor 30 amp Pro ESCs. This is the second generation of the Fly Color ESCs, the D-Shot Pro version. I have these on several. I've flown many different. You know, the DYS are solid. I have ZTW flashes on a build. You know, But these ESCs right here, the form factor, look at that. They're just the size of my thumbnail there, you know what I mean? They're tiny and they're powerful. And I've never had one of these fail on me on any of the builds I've put it on. I've never had one like burn up or fail or whatever, except I smashed one in a crash, and of course that goes without saying that happened. So these have been my go-to ESCs, and that's what we're going to be using on this build because I really like them and I like how small they are. We'll be using the TBS Unify Pro. This is the 5-volt version. Because with this FCHUB, where's my FCHUB? Because with the FCHUB, right, it's got all the 5 volts out and everything that we need to power this with. I'm actually going to power it right off the PDB and the camera off the PDB also, because I don't want to run all that power through the little ribbon. We'll get into all that later. I don't want to run the power through the ribbon cable to the flight controller. And these things, a lot of people hook them up on boards and they don't realize that the 5-volt out is only 1 amp. And you need about 3 amps for this thing to run right. And that's why people have a lot of problems with their video. But anyway, I chose this one because we don't need the 5-volt out for the camera. And it's got a nice small form factor to keep everything nice and light and keep this a nice light build. And I'll show you how I hook all this up when we get to that part of the video. So there's that. We're using the TBS Unify Pro. We're going to use the FR Sky XM Plus. Again, it's tiny. It's perfect. It outputs RSSI onto the OSD, and that's all I need. Because the F405 has the current sensor, the PDB has the current sensor and everything else, and the OSD and everything we need. So I don't need an X4R with the telemetry output. Some guys like to have both, but I don't need it. I don't find it necessary. And some people have talked about this being not having the range of the X4R, or I've never had a failsafe on it. I have one of these on a 6-inch build that I dive buildings with, and it's never fail-safed. So that's that. Then we have the, of course, the good old Runcam Swift that we all know and love. There's the unboxing. Boom, there it is. We all know what that is. We'll show you how we wire that up later. And the only thing we'll be doing different with that is I'll be adding in one of these aftermarket GoPro lenses. Spend a few extra bucks and get a good lens, because the way they finish the lens is going to be the difference in cost and make the difference in the resolution. And also I look for the one with the big back on it. You see how big that that sensor entry is? Let me see if I can grab a standard lens here real quick that I have around. Oh, that's got a big back on it also. If you look at like the normal lenses that they come with, right, the hole in the back is very small. Can you see that there? A small hole in the back, where this one has the big hole. So I can pretty much fly at night with these with no problem. If there's any kind of light at all, I can see with these things. They work freaking fantastic. So we'll be replacing that with that. So that's that. And then the other star of the show is going to be my LD Power motors that I just got for testing out. And these are the 2305 2750 kVs, which is why I chose all this light gear. I want to keep everything light. I don't know what props we'll be using yet. Probably two-bladed props is going to be my guess. But when we get to that part, we'll go through that. And so let's unbox these. There we go. Hate freaking unboxings. Nobody needs to know how to open a box. They come with everything you need. Obviously, the mounting screws. They come with the little wires that we need to put on. They are directional, but they give you 2 prop nuts for every motor. So if you lose 4 prop nuts, then you're kind of an idiot, I guess. I don't know, because they're directional. These things don't come loose. So I've only ever lost, like, I think I lost one time when I was changing a prop and dropped it in the grass or something. So I got a few of these around, no problem. Excuse me. But anyway, we're gonna set one of these up real quick. I'm gonna show you how I do that. And get my soldering iron heating up. Some guys have said they didn't really like the power board like this in there. I actually like it a lot. And part of the directional is this cooling fan. And I believe that really helps this motor go through the air, because these things make a noise and slice through the air like none of the other motors that have ever flown. I think maybe it scoops the air up on and shoves it underneath the prop too, is what helps it. But anyway, if a wire gets scarred or marked from a prop or in a crash, or I want to change builds, I can just unsolder the wire and solder another one on. Super freaking simple and easy to do. So I like having this deal going on here. We'll zoom it in a little bit. I'm still waiting for the solder iron to heat up. Now, one thing I did do, I didn't think it necessary for me to film cutting the little pieces of heat shrink that I'm going to use to cover them here at the end. And I used the little the solder spool to set it in. See, it's like the perfect little deal here, little tray guy. Put that in. Okay, the iron's hot, so we're gonna go ahead and tin up these let me keep it in shot here and be able to see this to solder. Yes, I say solder. I'm marking. So we tin up these little pads. So they're good to go. And I use, if you see the tip of my soldering iron right there, it's like a little foot instead of like a little chisel tip or whatever. This works way better. You can run the solder right down onto the tip like that, and get it right in the heat. And then when I want to put a wire on, I can kind of smush it on with this, and it makes a nice, transfers the heat far faster. So there's a lot less contact time to transfer heat to the electronics and whatever else you're working on. And I also use one of these, I got rid of the plastic thing, that the original plastic thing that the iron came with, and I use this spring because it works out way better when I need to solder a couple wires together, or for things like this when I just need to tin wires, right? I don't have to hold it all in my hands. I can just stick it in here and just tin the wire real quick on there. Nice, easy, quick, and simple, without having to fight anything. It's just right there for me. So there we go. Wires are tinned, just like that. Boom. So now, we'll pop these wires on this motor. Get it in shot here. Pay attention to what I'm doing. See if I can do this on camera. Oh, and one other thing I forgot to mention real quick. I solder the wires to the bottom of the motor. If I try to solder to the top here, the strength of the magnets, these magnets are super powerful. So when I approach with my soldering iron, the magnet sucks my soldering iron on, and it makes it really hard to solder the wires on. So I solder them onto the bottom of the motor, like so. And there's one. Now, these LD powers do come with solder on them, on the wires already, but obviously we all like to tin them again to make sure we have fresh flux flowing on there, so we get a nice good solder joint and everything flows nice and easy. I always like triple check every see, that one's like not perfect. That first one's good. It's because I'm trying to do this on camera and not using my magnifying glass. But I check every joint as I go along, so I know there's not going to be any problems at the end. I don't have to go back to them. When I do them in the beginning, I make sure they're right. Each and every one. A little OCD about that, I guess. There we go. That's good. I think. Let me inspect that a little closer. Yeah, we're good there. Nice ball of solder right on the deal right there. And the other thing is make sure you check your other side and none of these are touching, because there is a hole that goes through there, you know. But that's nice and neat. Nice, perfect little balls on there. Nice, perfect little solder joint. That's not going anywhere anytime soon, unless I desolder it. Yeah, we're good there. So on to number 3. That looks like the end I tinned. Pop that one on there real quick. Hardest part about doing this is holding the wire still while it cures, right? And that looks surprisingly pretty darn good for me not being able to see through my magnifying glass. That one came out. Yeah, we're good there. I'm happy with that. They're not going anywhere, that's for sure. So then, I'll take a little piece of this heat shrink and slide on here. Mush it up there as far as I can, just to keep everything protected and from touching the frame or grounding out or shorting out or anything stupid happening. Push it up on there and use the old heat gun away from the fingers and get it started. And then we'll shrink it on there. And what I do when I use heat shrink is, while it's still warm like this, I'll get it nice and toasty. While still warm like this, lick the fingers, give it a pinch. See how that seals that off real nice? Everything's all nice and tight on there now. All the wires are shrunk in there. So there we go. I'll prep the rest of these motors off camera. I don't think you guys need to watch me do all 4 of them, but that's how I set up these LDs, is with the wires to the bottom like that, and a little piece of heat shrink, and now it's nice and perfect. It's going to lay right on the arm, nice and perfect. So that's that. That's part 1. That's the gear that we're going to use. These are the motors we're going to use. That's how we solder the motors on. And we're at like 18 minutes now, so I want to keep these 20 minutes long. So it may be a 4 or 5 video series, who knows? But I don't want to bore anybody to death. Oh, also these LD powers, the really cool thing about this is it comes with this little wrench that slides in underneath the prop to unstick props, and this has come in handy more than once when I've snapped the prop to the hub and whatnot and what on. Very, very cool design. Very awesome. I love these motors. These motors are freaking one of my top picks for sure, and I fly them all. So there we go. Hope this helps somebody out. See you in the next video.